had a little bit of a heart attack for a second there. Yeah, okay. Well, I think we're good. I think I'm live on YouTube, but not Twitch or nowhere else, so that's good. I also think you guys can hear me. Likely. So that's good. I don't think you guys can hear the rain, though. That's interesting that I could hear it, but you couldn't. I wonder if you couldn't hear it last time either. Hello. Welcome in. Thanks for wishing everybody good luck and prosperity. We also wish you good luck and prosperity. Mm-hmm. Yes. That sounded like that one girl who's on TikTok. Ice cream so good. Ice cream so good. Yes. You know, the NPC dialogue thing. That lady. That's who I felt like I sounded like. But yes, I am here. Hello. Hello. Theoretically, I mm-mm. Theoretically, I should be good on doing the stream and not having anything too weird happen. Because I made sure to be relieved of all those feelings before I started stream. Before I started drinking that juice, you know? Shirt doko? Yeah, TikTok NPC was certainly an era. It was got beef with the 3DO. Yeah, we're fully censored today. Fully censored. I'm dressed up under these, and you can kind of see it, the heels there, but just to be safe, I do still have multiple sensors on. That way, YouTube will never bonk me. Zedus. Yes, Zedus. Um, I ended up asking you guys about the button question because I thought it was interesting, but then I got more context on the button question, which made it even more interesting. So, okay, to answer the button question, who we juicing? We adding a squirt of lemon? No, I'm drinking juice. Adult juice. I'm drinking that sippy cup juice. Um, that I don't want to risk saying on YouTube. You know. Um, oh, I don't know about all that. That's a little far. Hi. It's been a while. Have you been doing well? Yes. I was talking about this dilemma while I waited for some water to cool down so I could have a drink in my stomach before I started drinking this adult juice. Um, I was, because okay, I asked everybody their answers. I thought it was so interesting to see how many people were angry or upset saying that people who pressed blue was an idiot. Because I pressed blue because my family would press blue. And I want a higher chance of my family to live. And my family would press blue. Also, I saw a lot of people saying that people who press blue were just doing it because they were wanting to be heroes and stuff. But my family would do it just because they couldn't live with themselves if other people died. Right? My family and friends are really good people. And I truly believe that if someone died and they know that they could have done something to try to prevent the death of another person, my family would end their own life anyways. So it would have been a needless risk, pretty much to them. So I know for a fact that my family would press blue. So I press blue. So I would hope that my family and friends would have a higher chance of living. And blue won. So I guess in this case it would be true. But it was very interesting to hear how many people were like, "Oh, it's just so stupid. It's so dumb. Why would you ever pick blue?" Um, but then the question also included like babies, toddlers, children, mentally disabled people. It didn't say that the people who voted had to be sound of mind. And so I feel like yeah, people would press blue. Even if everybody in the world had a chance to press red, people would press blue. Not just the people who are selfishly wanting to, take a hike off or wanting to die a hero, but just people who don't know what they're doing, people who misunderstood the question, people who are too young, too old, not smart enough, and people like my family who wouldn't want to live in a world that was a lot of people voting red. So, um, yeah, I thought it was very interesting to see. So I was very curious on how you guys saw it. And then I found out that most of the people who voted blue 3 times, as in the poll happened 3 different times, and all three times everyone voted blue. And so then I was like, well, now I'm confused because with the added knowledge that 3 different times people voted blue, and somebody else did a poll for it. They were like, with the knowledge that the majority of people will choose blue because this poll has been run 3 different times, and the majority of people chose blue, do you still choose red? And I was surprised to see that a lot of people, some people did say that they would switch to blue because they only picked red because they thought that blue would lose and they didn't want to die. But now that they know that majority will pick blue and there'll be no risk of their life, they'll switch over. But I was very surprised to see that some people who picked red were reiterating that they would pick red because they think that people who choose blue are stupid and should die. So it was about killing. And then someone else did a poll that took away any of the benefits for red, because there was a chance for red to die too. So the poll was like 70% of people vote blue, everyone lives. 80% of people vote red, blue dies. Neither something, red dies, and blue still won out. But I was surprised to see that there were some people who still chose red in this scenario, even though that they were at a clear disadvantage. uh, like this poll was deliberately stacked for blue, and they still chose red. And I thought that was very interesting because, and then they were still in the comments defending it. And then some people were also getting mad because they were like, well, you changed the hypothetical, so of course blue is better now. Disregarding that blue was kind of always better because 50% is easier than 100%, right? I don't know. That just makes sense to me that it's easier to get 50% of people to vote with you than it is to get 100% of people to vote with you. And at that point, you're just risking people that you know and love for the sake of it, right? Because eventually someone in your life will vote blue, no matter how stupid that you think that person is. Maybe if you have a mom who's very empathetic to children, you know, a a brother whose child pressed blue on accident. People who would not want other people to die in your life. And I don't know, you'd have to be okay with losing them. Maybe you are, but it was just very interesting to see how many people were like, "You're stupid, you're stupid." I pick red because I'm not stupid, and if everyone picks it, we'll just all live. But everyone doesn't have to pick blue, and we'll still all live. So I don't know what those acronyms are. I'm so sorry. All right, let's scroll up. It was a Twitter debate started by Mr. Beast. Uh, at least this vote was started by Mr. Beast. I don't know about the people who did it before. Um, yeah, it's kind of deceptively worded on purpose to make it a question. I think even when it's worded differently, some people are just fine with the idea that others will die. Some people want other people to die if they don't think like them. Shamblers? What? Why the fuck wouldn't you press blue? Because you don't want to risk your own life. That's it. Not saying that it's selfish, because inherently some people who are pressing blue are just pressing it for selfish reasons. I'm pressing blue because I want my family to live. That's selfish. My family's pressing blue because they don't want to live with themselves if people die because of their choice. That's selfish. And they're also doing it because they don't want to live in a world with people who would rather watch others die than even take a chance to save someone. That's selfish. I was also surprised to see that a lot of people didn't ascribe to the idea that doing nothing is inherently harmful in situations like these, right? I don't know. I've always thought it was a funny thing to not think about. I thought that nobody really thought about it like that, but I guess it makes sense because it is still a common mindset. The idea that doing nothing is inherently harmful is like this at its most extreme. At its most extreme, you see a person being beat in the street. It is a child, it is a woman, it is a disabled person. They are helpless. They are unable to do anything. You're watching them being beat in the street, and you decide to not do anything. And you're like, yeah, you're not hurting them. But actually, you are, because you're allowing them to sit there and be harmed. You're perpetuating the harm. By standing back when a person is harming another person, you are intrinsically perpetuating the harm by allowing it to go on in your knowledge. And yeah, that's one of the most extreme versions of it. I think the most extreme version of it, the top of the line, is knowing that somebody in your life is, preying on little kids and then not doing anything about it. And I think in that case, suddenly everybody becomes a hero because they're like, oh, I can't stand by and watch little kids be hurt. So you do understand that the idea that not doing anything is perpetuating harm, because when it's taken to its most extreme form, you can see how not doing anything allows for things to keep happening, which hurts. Um, and so it's very interesting to see people be like, "Yeah, everybody who pressed that button is stupid for wanting to try to help, because if you just choose to do nothing, knowing that if you do nothing, people will die, then you're not hurting anyone." I don't know. Very interesting. So blue, the issue is that logically red is the correct choice, but not everyone will press logically. Logically, red is the correct choice if we live in an idealistic world where people don't have empathy. People aren't mentally disabled. Children are excluded from the vote. Old people are excluded from the vote. And there is either no one to empathize with or empathy doesn't exist. Red is the perfect choice if you have no emotions or regard for the well being of others. They basically imagine that everyone is acting logically and rationally, which is never the case for anyone. The case if the sample is just any and everyone. I don't even think logically and rationally is it, because, like, children and babies are included.
And what is logical to a child is not logical to an adult. But children have their own logic. It's just logic doesn't always look the same for people. I don't know. Logically, it makes sense for me to not even put death on the board if the option is everyone lives. That's not even like a moral choice. Like, I think that genuinely, if everyone lives is an option, why choose an option where one person dies? Death was only on the table if you hit one button. The fuck? Yeah, pressing red is saying I'm okay with killing less intelligent and more emotional people. I've been always on my mind, of course, I'm choosing blue. Yeah, talk about showing your true colors. The majority of people are empathetic to others. Of course, people will pick blue. There's no reason to switch off red if you voted for it once. There's a downside to blue, but not for red. The downside is that if you can't get 50% of people to vote with you, then you die. But both in practice and in reality, what happened was that 50% of people are logical enough to realize that nobody has to die. Everyone, more specifically because 100% of people would have to be on red side, right? So it's like, I guess on that sense, it is if you can live with yourself. Your Turn to Die is an indie horror death game similar to Danganronpa. Ooh. But it's all about voting people too well. The world is cruel, but we can't give up hope. Oh, I'm not really thinking it's cruel. Um, it is what it is, you know? That's the beauty of being alive. I picked blue because I have hope in humanity. Don't do that. Do not do that. No problem, man. Yeah, depending on the situation, you can for sure be complicit by doing nothing. You're always complicit by doing nothing. That's why some people are mandatory reporters, because you're almost always complicit by doing nothing. I don't think there is a situation in which you aren't complicit by doing nothing. Somebody's, I guess, the situation where somebody doesn't want to be helped, but I don't think that that's doing nothing because you did try to do something and were literally stopped. So you didn't do nothing. You can no longer do anything. Right. Which is different from seeing and then doing nothing. Um, but like, I can't think of a single situation in which harm is being done to another person and you let it happen, unwillingly being done to another person, and you let it happen, and you are not in some way now a complicit party in that harm. If you really even want to think about it from like a logical, rational standpoint, or like a legal standpoint, if you watch somebody rob a fucking bank and you're not held at gunpoint, you are now a part of the crime, right? If somebody says that they're going to commit a crime and you know that they're going to do it for a fact and you don't report it, you are now complicit in that crime and you're going to jail. So like it's not even like, you don't even really have to think about it at that point, right? Suddenly it's like, it's not even, yeah, you're a part of you're a part of it now. It sucks being dragged into things unwittingly, I will say, but it's not like one of those things where it's like, if I do nothing, there was nothing I could have done. Um, I think most people would instinctively jump in and see if they and help if they can see it. I don't always think that that is true. We see a bunch of incidents in the world where that is like literally not true. Because I do believe people are inherently selfish. I do believe that if somebody was in immediate harm or danger, so not standing in a button where they cannot conceptualize the danger, right? The danger has to be right in front of them. They will not do what it is to do it. So if the options were pushing buttons, like there was just buttons in front of you, you don't know how you're gonna die, you don't know if it's gonna be graphic or horrific, or and you're not looking death in the face, then you would make a more empathetic choice. But I think if you were sitting in the middle of a lion den and there was five other people around you, you probably would say fuck those five other people. In which case, that's different. Yeah, true. Yeah, true, fair. I wouldn't do that, but yeah, true, fair. Vin, how would you say that you wouldn't do that? You've never been in that. I've been in adjacent situations. I wouldn't do that. Granted, I don't particularly have the capability to look at myself if I feel that I could have helped another person. I was raised with the exact same morals of my family. Believe it or not, I am one of my family members. So, um, yeah, even if the situation was that I was staring a lion down and somebody else could be my human meat shield, if I used somebody else's life to bolster my own, I would not even think my life worth the death that it cost. Because inherently, I don't think that my life is better than someone else's. And I'm not gonna levy it. Now, somebody else was like, please live on. I would still try to drag them, but if they were very insistent on dying for me, then that's different. I'd be like, yeah, okay, well, you're giving me a chance to live. I should take it. But if nobody's offering, then I'm gonna try to get everybody out. I'm drunk enough. Drunk as fuck. Okay. You have a good night, so forecast. I guess you could boil it down to, would you risk your life to potentially save people, but there's a chance you would also die? Or would you rather be completely safe? Oh, we were having a button talk. We are. Because I was like still reading about it before the stream, so I'm still thinking about it. Well, it depends with that example, because there could be a problem with deniability if the person was joking about committing a crime. And that's why I said, if you knew that they were like being serious, like if you knew for a fact they were being dead ass, uh, that's very different. Well, most of the time, if you put people against the wall, they'll do anything to survive. I mean, some people won't. Some people are genuinely that great of people. You hear about it all the time in these calamities. It's very nice to be like, everybody 100% of the time, no other choice, no thoughts, would always go to save themselves. But you look back and that's not necessarily true. My favorite example of this is the Sewol Ferry incident, in which students were on a trip to Jeju Island, and they took a ferry, and the ferry capsized. And while the captain of the crew and a lot of the crew members got off the ship and left the children to die, there were teachers, there was one member of the staff, there were teenagers, there were truck drivers, all on that ferry, who tried their best to save the lives of as many kids as they could. There were divers who were not involved in the sinking of the ferry, who came from all around the country and risked their lives to go down there and recover the bodies of dead children. And those are the kind of people that really make you feel like a piece of shit. Because me personally, I could never. But those are the kind of people where, in a situation where their life is at stake, they're going to try their best to save other people. Those are the genuinely good people of the world. I think about that often. I don't know. I think about what distinguishes a good person from a regular person, from an alright person, from a moral person. And I think I draw my line at that distinction. People whose the value of other lives, they feel that they value those more. I don't know. That's so effed. It was a really fucked up situation too, because um, that makes me kind of want to watch that again, but I don't want to cry while I'm drunk. Uh, Basically, the situation was that the people who owned the ferry and the company were not up to code and standard, and they were overpacking the ship, and they didn't even make sure the ship was up to code to sail, right? So ships are supposed to have water inside of them to keep the ship from balance. The ship didn't have enough balancing. They paid off inspectors so that they could get away with it. And the company was super high up, like it was a super big company. So they were able to get away with keeping the ferry in operation. And basically what ended up happening was this was a like, it wasn't like a private ferry, right? So it was like a public ferry, and they were shipping over cargo. So people drove their cars, their trucks onto it. And also there were people who were just going on it to go on a little trip. And it was supposed to be like a 18-hour trip or something. But the trip was going and the ship started capsizing. Or the ship. Oh, and also the canal that they chose was like unsafe because it shaved off like 5 minutes of the ride, but the water was more dangerous in that terrain. And so they go through this terrain that they're not supposed to be going to on a ship that's unsteady with more cargo that they're not supposed to have on it. Too much cargo, and they turn and they make a really wide turn that the ship's not able to recover from. So the ship starts capsizing. And instead of telling people that the ship was capsizing, they didn't say anything. Finally, when the ship is about to go down, they play this announcement that tells people to put on life jackets and stay inside their cabins, except for the fact that they didn't have enough life jackets because the ship wasn't up to code. So now all these teenagers are being told to stay inside because that's what authority is telling them to do, and they're listening, and the ship is slowly capsizing. And so they send out a small little rescue boat because the government fails in this whole situation too. And the first person to get off is the captain, who described himself as a civilian, and he tells them that everyone else got off, and a couple crew members come and they say that everybody is safe. It would be a little while before they realized that the students were still on the boat, and the boat is actively sinking. And this is where the government fails, because apparently they were unable to get in touch with the Korean government. So the Korean government, like, they sent over a helicopter to inspect, but then they were unable to get clear imaging or whatever, whatever. And it ended with nobody saving those damn kids. And the ship capsized and it went underwater. And the Coast Guard from the US tried to help, but they didn't let them. And the only real recovery for those bodies was done by the civilians, who were traumatized, obviously. There's still bodies under there. Yeah. Did anyone try to take this company to court? It was so bad. Um, a lot of people were arrested. The ship captain was is one of the most hated men in Korea. The president, I think, was impeached, and the owner of the company, like a couple months after this incident, hung himself for a slightly unrelated incident. I wish it was like 5 minutes and the ship capsized quickly. I think they said it was something like 48 hours, or like a whole 20. It was like a whole day and a half or some shit before the ship would be 100% underwater. And that whole time, a lot of those little children, I know that they're teenagers, but they're children, were stuck in that ship knowing they were going to die. It's very sad too, because some of them, it happened in like 2016 or something. And so you can find some of the phone calls that they made to their parents online, where they're trying to reassure that their parents. There are videos online of those kids saying that they're going to die, and they were right. I don't know if any. I don't remember if any of the kids were saved, but I'm pretty sure the answer was no. I don't think any of them were. But some people were saved, and some people were able to be saved, but they ran back in the ship to save the children and died. I think about it often. I listen to it more times than I care to admit, um, because it's just such a tragic incident. Also, another incident that comes to mind, also in Korea. I don't know why. Uh, Another incident that comes to mind where I think a lot about the remarkable good people in the world is that there was an incident in Korea where there it was a like night party after a Halloween party, I think. Maybe I don't remember what kind of party it was, but it was after COVID had opened everything back up and Korea was trying to get their main bustling district up and running again. And so a bunch of people were going to a club, but the club got overfilled during the night and the club was in an alleyway and people were trying to get in this alleyway and eventually they all became like packed in like sardines and people were passing out and they couldn't breathe. This one wasn't a failure of infrastructure, it's just that a bunch of people were crowded in one area and were panicking and they were stuck and more people were trying to go into the area because they didn't realize that there was bad things happening in the area and a lot of people died. But my favorite fact, I guess, which is not really my favorite fact per se, is that the knowledge, I guess something that restores my faith in humanity, is the knowledge that a lot of the young adults, still children, barely graduated people, people my age, uh, they were the ones who were able to get to higher ground were pulling other people up. The people who knew a little bit of medical knowledge, when they were finally able to get everyone unpacked, were trying to do resuscitation on others. And my least favorite fact is that while the paramedics were trying to save people, some people were trying to get pictures of the possibly dead girls with their tops pulled up. All right. I guess we're going to cry, guys. I guess we're going to cry. Um I think you can watch Rotten Mango's videos on YouTube. Like I don't think they copyright you for it. For reacting to it. Because I've seen other people do it, but I'm going to Google it. But I don't know if it's just because it's re-upload from Twitch or not. If so, we are gonna do it. I forgot about the censor. Sometimes Face for Humanity is there. Well, so it's very interesting because I feel like it was the duality of people, right? In both incidents, it's the duality of people. The ship captain, the majority of the ship crew, knew that those kids were still on board and didn't do anything to try to get them saved. Um, the government failed those kids. And then in the street incident, the police were all around the president who was on the other side of the city. And therefore, is that Mercy Modeste live on YouTube.com? Oh my god, I gotta go say hi. You guys know how much I have to say hi to other girls. I haven't taken a sip of alcohol yet, by the way. I don't need better help. I need to say hello to to Mercy Modeste.
Hi, Mercy.
When did I get shielded? Would it be weird if I asked her what's yick? I don't know what this is. I was, another mark against the long, yeah, that would drive anyone in the day and a half. Man, that's fucked up. Sick to my stomach. Go to Jesus. Sometimes faith in humanity is there. Oh my god, that's their channel. I saw stuff about them on the boat. I'm subscribed to them. Yeah. It's not even hindsight. Vynn modded. Yes, I support all other girls, cause you sway fella sometimes after you enter her last chat, I guess. Yeah, that's how you shielded in Sheebies. I just assume you were shielded everywhere. No. No, it's not like a blanket thing, you know. It's not like they're like, oh, she's shielded here, I'll shield her. It's more like I become friendly with each of the girls. And that's through the effort of wanting to be friends with each of the girls. And then they'll shield me if they want to. But they don't have to. It's not like I'm really making it my life mission to be either, you know. Okay, so it seems like maybe it's okay, but if the stream goes down, I'll stop so that YouTube doesn't bonk me. And then we'll just do it like a normal watch along. Um, Hold on, let me make sure I get this ad blocker on. Make sure I don't get no ads. Wait, why the fuck did I get an ad? My ad blocker's on. And you can see that I watch a lot of her videos, but I'm not subscribed. I don't know why. Uh, I'm gonna Google Ferry. There we go. We're on my actual Ventral Shade channel account. Oh, I forgot you can see my plugin. Can I turn that off? Uh, is there a way to just... Here, I'm gonna say allow only to when clicked, and that way you guys don't see my silly little plugin. My ad blocker is not working, and it's scaring the fuck out of me. What do you mean? I don't know if that means that I'm not gonna have ads or not. I don't have an ad right now, but I see an ad on the side, which makes me think that I'm going to have ads. Bada bing, bada boop. Ad about to pop up with some obscure town in it. You guys are gonna find out that I'm actually British. No, nor. nor I don't want you guys to know that I'm actually British. Okay, here's a... I don't see any ads on the video during the length, but if I get even one ad, I'm going to fix it, you know, because no more, no ads. I don't have enough, monitors for me to be doing it. British unsubbed. I can't believe this. So now we have another dilemma, which is that I'm kind of set up so I can't move. So maybe, you know, you won't get full visuals. Or maybe you will. Hold on. Default. All right. Select. Oh, default. No, 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 no. Color picker. Select. Black. Okay. Now, we'll delete this. We'll delete this. My head is dislocated from my body. Wait. Why am I worried about my head dislocating from my body when I can literally just... Whoops, let me remember what the name of it is. Ha 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 ha. I'm such a silly girl. And yes, the sensor is its own thing. I don't know where the sensor is, guys. You're gonna probably have to deal with that being on your screen, because I don't know where it's at. And then I want to at least be a little bit bigger, but I don't know where my mouse is. Dang. There it is. I found it. You say that it's all for me. I know you've been waiting for this love and all. Found it. There we go. Nice little shield cleavage blocker. Okay. And then the issue is that I can't connect my thing by a thing. So I'm probably gonna die in the middle of this, even though I don't really want to. Actually a little less than the middle of this, because this is at 19%. That's assuming it registers my face in the first place, because it hates me. And you said that is all for me. You know you've been waiting for this one, and okay. Okay. I'm gonna let it say, hey, hey, hey. Alright. I hate this. Yep. Alright. Now we moving. We moving and we grooving and we grooving. Dulaham. Yes, see. Yeah. Dulaham. Alright. So, now we're gonna do some window capture magic. It's actually censored because I'm not on the screen, if you guys were wondering. Fit to screen. Alright, let's hope that I don't get bombed.
Yeah. Bada bing, bada bing.
This is going to be a long one, and it's going to be a tough one, okay? We're talking about the Sewol tragedy, the sinking of the Sewol boat. Now, two 16-year-old students from Danwon High School, they made headlines. There were some rumors that they were dating. There were some rumors that said, no, they were just close friends. But most of the students that knew both of them personally said they barely knew each other. I don't even think that they had a class together. Most kids said that was the extent of their interaction, just passing each other in the hallways. Yet the two of them found each other alone in a room, in a boat, terrified. I mean, they're watching the water starting to pool on the ground and they didn't know what to do. I'm sure they were frantic. I'm sure that there were a lot of things going on in their minds.
It's really interesting. I like the way that she explains things. I think that's really she's the only true crime channel that I watch because of the way that she explains things. It's like nice, it's descriptive, and it really gets you into the moment. Like it gets you in the feelings. Which is bad and good, I will say. Bad and good in equal parts because you're like, yeah, I feel exactly what's going on, and then you feel awful because you feel exactly what's going on. Sometimes I'll watch her other channel, which is Moral of the Story, or like just her Stephanie Sue channel. But usually I don't, because I don't like to keep up with like frivolous stuff, if that makes sense. Like I just consider it like not like not unnecessary, but like I consider it like tabloid stuff. And if it's too sensitive, obviously I won't watch it either because I'm like, you know, that's really dark. But usually I do end up watching the Rotten Mango stuff. Just because I do think that a lot of them are really interestingly titled and done. Sorry, I'm looking at my YouTube control panel real quick. I'm gonna need that open if I'm gonna be watching this. Because I need to gauge if YouTube is telling me to stop or not. And you say daddy's home for me. And I know you've been waiting for this line all day. I wasn't logged in because it logs me out. And I hate that. Like, it logs me out anytime I switch accounts or anything. And it's really stupid annoying. Like, stupid annoying. So I end up not doing it because I just don't want to deal with it. If you guys were wondering. Streaming software connected. Juice is excellent. So many viewers. Where did it all come from? I spent way too much time listening to underwater and cave diving accidents. I don't listen to those because they make me mad and claustrophobic.
I'm sure that they were trying to comfort each other, but eventually everything goes black. A civilian diver would later find both their bodies alone in that room, and their life jacket cords were still tied together. He remembers how he had to separate them because he physically couldn't bring up two bodies at once. And he recognized that in their last moments, maybe these two kids knew each other, maybe they didn't, but in their last moments, they didn't want to be alone. So they tied the strings of their life jackets together till the very end. And he said, you know, I started crying thinking that I didn't want to separate them, but I had to. He said it was one of the hardest rescue dives that he had ever endured in his entire life. He would never forget some of the stuff that was seen. Other students from the same high school, Tanwon High School, faced similar fates. A female student was seen throwing a chair at a window, a glass window, and she's hurling this chair with as much force as she can muster. She would go as...
You know what's always plagued me? Like, it's such a stupid, weird question to plague me. Why don't boats have glass breakers? Cars, your headrest can come off of the back of a car and you can use the pointy end of your headrest to shatter the glass. Why do boats not have glass breakers for you to shatter the glass? Because it's really dangerous to not be able to shatter the glass. right? But I guess maybe are boats pressurized?
Far back as she could, and then she would throw it with all of her strength, and it would just clunk onto the window and fall back down. She wasn't angry, but there was just pure desperation in her eyes. She could see on the very other side of this window were rescuers. They saw her, she saw them, and they did nothing but stare at her.
What?
And nobody
Why?
has a glass
We're going to
breaker.
get into it. I mean, this rescue, I don't even think you can call it a rescue. She realized that these people, these rescuers, they're not here to save her. All the people that she thought would be responsible for her safety, the captain of the boat, the rescue teams from the Korean National Coast Guard, they
Unrelated, Stephanie is so pretty. I'm so sorry. You guys are like, Vynn, please stop pausing. And I'm like, but I'm distracted. She's very pretty. After some of her videos, I definitely need to watch some feel good happy videos. I always carry a knife with a glass breaker on it. Right. Most commercial boats don't have a feature in case of storms, would be my guess. Oh, you're right. No idea. No, the storm thing makes sense. No, wait. It makes sense. Cooking.
all abandoned her. They were watching her through the window, and it was very clear to her in her last moments that she was being left to die. Imagine these are the very last realizations that you have in your life. April 16th, 2014, the Sewol Ferry
I was 2 years
capsized off the coast of South Korea. There were 476 passengers. Most of them were high school students around the age of 16 years old from the same high school. They were on their way to Jeju Island when their boat started sinking on one
Jeju.
side. And
No.
when a
Jeju.
giant boat that carries 500 passengers, when it starts
More
sinking,
evidence
it's not
for the
something that goes
Yuri
unnoticed,
allegations.
nor is it something that happens very
Acknowledging
quickly.
that pretty
Soon,
women are
nearby
pretty.
boats and vessels and even countries start giving out lending
is very
helping
pretty. She
hands.
has
The
flawless
Japanese
skin.
Coast Guard asked if South
She has
Korea required
round,
assistance because they were
childish
right there.
eyes.
The
I
U.S.
don't really know what
Navy
the shape
had
is
a
called, so
massive
I just have to
vessel
call them, like,
stationed
child eyes,
nearby
'cause
and offered to
when
rush to
children
the
look
scene
at
to
you,
help
they
with
have the
rescue
same thing.
efforts.
This is gonna be so
South
stupid
Kor-
that I have to pause. This is very- okay, so when you look at her eyes, they go up like this, and then they come in, right? And they always do that. That's the shape of her eyes. But those are also the eyes that children have. That's the reason why they have innocent eyes. It's because their eyes arch up at the top, making their eyes seem much bigger. Like the actual iris part of the eye looks bigger, right? And it gives them a more like innocent face. So she does have very innocent looking eyes, even though the rest of her face is very grown woman. She does not look like a child. And then also the fit is just super cute. I think that Stephanie has a very aesthetic and cute face. I don't know. That's it. I love
denied all of their requests. They told news outlets that they had everything under control, that they were operating a
Is that better?
full-scale rescue operation, and that majority of passengers had already been rescued off the boat.
I was
and they're being
a
released
whole
to
9
safety.
when that happened. Oh,
South Korea told the world, "Hey,
Young.
guys, these are our kids, and we're going to do everything to save our kids." But that could not have been further from the truth. The Sewol Ferry tragedy in South Korea would lead to
It
the
makes me
deaths of
so
over
mad so many people
250
didn't
high
protect
school
the children.
students, over 300 lives in total. It would lead to the president being impeached, the prime minister resigning, the Korean Coast Guard being disbanded.
This is gonna sound so stupid, and I should know the difference. But what's the difference between the president and the prime minister? And why do they have both? Why do they have a president and a prime minister? Canada has a prime minister, but I don't think they have a president. And we have a president, no prime minister. And Australia has a president. In 2014, my days involved day drinking. Oh, that's right, you're old. Phew. And binging TV shows. That would have been my classic cartoon phase, like the Jetsons. The Jetsons wasn't on air on TV then. I know for a fact. Did you say 9? Why did I just start rapidly aging? Oh my gosh. I say like I wasn't a whole 12 years old in 2014.
ended, multiple high-profile arrests, a billionaire's suspicious suicide, a helicopter crash, hunger strikes, and a
I
vice
forgot about the
principal of a high
helicopter
school
crash.
found hanging from a tree in the woods, dead. So let's get into the
I
tragedy.
I would like to say that that's what I mean by people who can't live with themselves if they could have done something to help others and they didn't. Like the high school teacher or the high school principal, I don't think he had anything to directly do with the students. I don't think he was on the ferry or anything, or he wasn't paid off by the government. He didn't know it was going to capsize, and yet he still ended up hanging from a tree because he felt guilty. And that's what I mean by some people can't live with themselves if they knew that someone else would die because of their actions. It's okay, Auntie. Personally, I'm going to shove my foot up your ass, and then we'll see how Auntie I feel with my whole knee lodged in your backside. President and Prime Minister is always a bit confusing, mainly just what country they're in. And a lot of they're basically equivalent. So, but they have a president and a prime minister. Oh, okay. Vice president. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Okay. This is a very beautiful introduction scene. I wonder if it was practically shot or if they just found it somewhere.
As always, full show notes are available at rottenmangopodcast.com. There's a South Korean news outlet called...
Yeah, subscribe to Rotten Mango. Go do it. It's good. It's good. You'll be addicted. Really, genuinely. Like, not even being sarcastic. Things will be happening and you will be on the edge of your seat and it will be horrific and awful and you will still be watching because it is very engaging mentally.
Newstapa, which you're like, I've never heard of this. I've heard of like SBS and NBC. Newstapa worked closely with the victims' families and their attorneys from the get-go. They had so much information on this tragedy that was being suppressed by mainstream news. They were
I think it's really fucked up that the news can be like silenced by the government because
kind of surmised that without them, most of the evidence, most of these testimonies would have been completely lost. They would have never been used. So that was my primary source because they worked directly with the families to get the truth out there. And, you know, this isn't just a tragedy. It's a full-scale cover-up.
And it sucks that that's just like
the president,
the state
the
of most countries
in that country working with the media. So please go show support to Newstapa if you can. And with that being said, let's get into it.
Big thanks.
The parents of Tanwon High School are getting bombarded with calls. Phone calls, text messages, voice memos, pictures are being sent to them. And it was like a parent's worst nightmare. Think about your 16-year-old kid aboard a boat on a school field trip, and they're sending you cryptic text messages like, "Mom, I'm sending you this because I'm scared I might not be able to say it later. But I love you." You're like, what's going on? You're like on a field trip. Another kid sent, "Hope we can meet again alive." Another student said,
I've said this before, but I don't think any parent should have to bury their child. It's really fucked up.
"If I've wronged any of you guys, please forgive me." The parents start freaking out, but they're told by their kids that, "Hey, Mom, Dad, the boat is sinking, but rescue efforts are on their way. I think everyone's got it under control. They told us to stay in our cabins."
Can you imagine
and put
how
on our
scared they were? Even though they were trying
to
to console their families.
Stick with your friends. Don't be alone. Don't wander out alone. And good. That's good. They have everything under control. Just keep calm and do what they say. Do what they say. If you listen to them, everything will be okay. These words will haunt the parents forever. A lot of them couldn't even face living with the guilt because so many children would die from listening to what they said, from listening to what the captain told them to do.
Literally.
The ferry sank April 16th of 2014, but the story starts the day before on April 15th of 2014. So the students at Tanwon High School, this is like their annual trip to Jeju Island. They considered it a rite of passage,
New person,
like a tradition
same mistakes,
for everyone.
Literally.
Every single high school student it's the sophomore class. They're so excited for this because for one, their parents
I don't know if I just like knew and then I forgot or I wasn't listening because I used to listen to this while I was at work. And the last time I listened to this was while I was at work. But I didn't hear the part where she said it was the sophomore class. That's even worse. I don't know how old like sophomores are in Korea, but when I was a sophomore, I was 15. I was one of the youngest in my class, but I was 15. These aren't, I thought that they were a little bit older. Like, I thought that they were like 17, 18-year-olds. That doesn't make it better. That doesn't make it better, right? But, you know, I don't know. Think it's like Japan, so 3 years of high school, so our junior year. Okay, so 17. It doesn't make it better, but I guess, I don't know. I always feel bad, especially when the children are so young that they don't know how to really self-console yet. Like, they don't have the emotional regulation that comes with being over the age of 16 or 17. That's a baby. Yeah, those are babies.
Parents aren't going to be there. It's just their class and a couple of teachers. And I mean, just imagine the adrenaline and all this planning that goes into something like
Oh,
this.
let me get a
Any
Pop-Tart.
inconvenience that day that would have otherwise bothered the crap out of them, it didn't bother them anymore. I mean, they were waiting in line for hours at the port of Incheon, which is also where the international airport is. So Jeju Island is like the Hawaii of South Korea, and Incheon is actually on the northern side of South Korea, and they would get on a boat, go all the way down the left coast of South Korea, and then get into the ocean, the Yellow Sea a little bit, and then they'll hit a tiny little island called Jeju Island. It is the biggest destination spot for South Koreans. It's beautiful. It's like a cultural mecca. There's so much, there's a lot of
that it
fun
was
stuff
Jeju
to
with
do
the C
there.
and
So
not
these kids are like,
Jeju with the
yes,
J.
Jeju Island.
Jeju.
Even when their ferry is delayed for 2.5 hours because of foggy conditions,
I was checking
they're
which
like,
one was the
that's
microphone.
fine. Are you kidding? Nothing is gonna ruin this trip. This is the best trip of my life. It's a 300-mile trip by ferry. It takes 14 hours. But thankfully, they would be going down the coast of Korea most of
I would hate to be on a boat for 14 hours. I'm not even gonna lie with y'all, gang.
the time, the left side of the coast. So they're going to have cell service, and it was outfitted like a cruise ship, meaning that there's dorm rooms with bunk beds. There's communal showers, a convenience store, a cafeteria.
Communal showers. Y'all ever been on a cruise with communal showers? Communal shower. I wouldn't be taking a shower. I wouldn't be bathing at all. It's not like being from any year would make it better, but it's nice to have context. When I think of children under 15, I quite literally can't imagine them detached from their parents. Most children learn independence, like true 100% independence, at around 15, 16, 17. So the idea that it's a bunch of 15-year-olds, all I can think of is a bunch of babies who don't even know how to self-soothe themselves yet, which is infantilizing children, but I don't know. I just remember what I was like at 15, and it was really hard to be away from my auntie.
Which for high schoolers, this sounds like a blast. Because they had cell service, a lot of them were able to reach out to their families, and those
What
very
the hell are we
phones
talking about
would later
Musk
document some
for?
of their last moments on board. There were 476 people on board the ferry, including the crew. Now, they board the ferry at 9 p.m. They were supposed to board 2.5 hours earlier, but like I said, a delay. It's not that bad. I mean, the ferry is filled with 325 high school students, 14 teachers, 29 crew members, and about 100 or so other passengers. So these passengers are going to Jeju either on their own for vacation, or there were a lot of truck drivers. So they go and they get cargo off from this same boat, and they drive it around Jeju. Then they get their truck back onto the boat and come back to Seoul, and it's like a back and forth, right? So
Sounds like a huge
I'm
boat.
sorry that you
it's
don't
a
find
massive boat. Here, can you pass me my iPad? I'm gonna show you
knowledge of the
pictures.
death of
So you're saying there's
children
not only
and how
people,
it
but
could have
also,
been
like,
prevented
vehicles out there.
interesting, sir.
So many vehicles, and
sorry
it's
that that
actually
doesn't
a
interest
cargo
you.
ship. This is a cargo ship that loads on passengers on the
Unfortunately,
side.
it's
The
very real.
Sewol Ferry, if you want to get technical, is 75% profits from cargo movement and 25% profits from carrying of passengers.
Teens
Most
are
of the
such
pictures
awkward
you're
years
gonna
because I swear
find
back then
now
I felt
are
grown.
of it
Now I'm
sinking,
21.
but here is
And I don't mean
before
to
it
jack
sank.
shit. That's the fun part about
wow,
growing
it's
up.
Like a cruise ship.
Yeah, like a cruise ship.
Yes,
Wow.
it's massive. So, I mean, a lot of these truck drivers were not very excited that they got onto the ferry with a bunch of high schoolers, but these same truck drivers would help try and save a lot of these students later. So, it's not like the high school bought out the entire ferry, nor would
I felt depression. I'm sorry. I needed a minute. I'm gonna be honest. I'm a big baby. Because like a lot of those same truck drivers tried to help the students, and I just felt so sad. I felt so sad. I'm so sorry.
was it a ferry that belonged to the school. There's a lot of people on here. So all 476 people, including the crew, they board the ferry and they start their journey. Now, the night of the 15th was pretty calm. Okay, so this is a picture that the kids posted or taken by one of the victims, just of them boarding during the foggy night. And it just looks like they're so excited. And nothing climactic
I'm not gonna lie. I
happens,
didn't
which is
see
good.
not a lick of
Dinner
excitement.
served. There's fireworks that are launched.
I almost
want to
go back to the
and
picture
there's
just
pictures
to
of that too.
look at faces
At night,
because
the
I did not
passengers,
see
they all go to
any
sleep in their
excitement, gang.
cabins.
I'm
Now,
not
the
even
high school
gonna
was
lie.
pretty good about booking rooms on one level for all of the boy students, and then for the girl students upstairs, right? So they had different levels. They all go to sleep around 11ish, and the next morning, at around 11 a.m., they should be arriving in Jeju Island. So it's like you go to sleep, you wake up, you have breakfast, and 11 a.m. you're at Jeju. They're so excited for this. Now, 7:30 a.m. is when everything starts to slowly unravel. Helmsman Cho and third mate Park. So these are two of the people that are going to be steering the boat now. They take over for the shift so the overnight crew can go into their cabins and take a nap or go to sleep. The helmsman is the person who's going to be steering.
Excuse me while I spew my biased rhetoric. See how it's never night shift? See how it's never night shift? It's always morning shift. And that just really made me feel some type of way because I used to work night shift and morning shift was always like night shift so lazy, night shift never do shit, night shift don't even know how to do their job. And they were the worst ones. Talk about didn't know how to do their job. Didn't know how to wipe their ass. Anyways, this really didn't have anything to do with this situations here. I'm just biased against morning shift. Right? As someone who works nights, like we the ones doing the most, literally. And morning shift always pick it up somehow, really.
And driving the ship, if you will. So Helmsman Cho, he's at the bridge, which is basically like the cockpit of the boat. And
She
he's,
said
doing all these commands. And the captain was off duty in his room.
Okay, so the bridge.
The
is
captain,
driving
where?
route.
Yes.
Why he ain't never doing
30 minutes later, around 8 a.m., breakfast is served in the cafeteria for all the passengers, the crew, and anybody else. 8:20 a.m., autopilot is switched off to manual steering. Autopilot off, manual steering on. Just 7 minutes later, the Sewol is sailing through the Mengol Channel. Now, the Mengol Channel is very pertinent to this story. There are other routes to take to get to Jeju without going through this particular channel. I mean, it really only saves like 7 miles off of your trip, but this channel
7 miles
it's not
was
some
not
sort of
worth
urban
300
legend where
student
ships go
lives.
missing and it's like a terrifying place. It is a commonly used route.
I avoid the
but
morning
it's
shift
not
crew all
common.
the time,
It's
literally.
not that safe. It's a little unpredictable.
shift
It
always
is
gets
actually
blamed,
has one of
literally.
the most rapid and unpredictable currents in the Korean peninsula. It's got these tidal shifts,
I always
meaning that
see
you have to
night
be
shift and
super,
day
super
shift fighting
careful when you're
on
passing.
TV. Yes. So, well, okay, listen. So the reason the night shift and day shift fights is because they're fighting over the title of who is the one who's going to get the blame for management if shit goes wrong, right? So a lot of the time, day morning shift is full of tired people who are kind of dragging their ass. Like my most common issue that happened with night shift is that with morning shift is that the manager would come in the morning. She would come in before her shift started, clock in, sit in the manager's office for like 30 minutes, come up there, and then a whole hour after my shift ended sometimes, she would dismiss us. But she wasn't doing anything that the other managers weren't doing for 30 minutes, right? And then she would still come up there just to complain, and she would nitpick. So part of the thing about night shift is that because if a place does not close, they don't have a cleaning crew. If a place does not close, they do not have a closing staff, meaning that night shift now works cleaning and whatever day shift is doing, right? So let's say that you work for a printing company and every night you need to take apart the trays and take inventory of the shelves and clean up the interactable part of the store. That is now all night shift jobs because you do not have a closer. There are no 1 to 2 hours where there are no customers. There are always customers. There are always clients. They're always there. People are always there. And you have to make sure to prioritize those people while still having to get things done. And this is every day of the week, right? So in 2020, I worked at a fast food chain, famous fast food chain, 24 hours. It wasn't 24 hours in 2020, but it was 24 hours again in 2021. And it was my first job. The night shift, the night shift specifically, they had to do all of that, and it doesn't matter if it was a Saturday or Sunday. You know, nights people are going to bars, they're drinking, and they would be busy from 9 in the night to 3 in the morning, or actually it's closer to 11 at night and 3 in the morning because that's when the clubs are kind of closing or opening, and they, you know, people come all through those times. But that essentially does mean, because night shifts normally start at 9 or 10 at night, that means that 2 hours into your shift you're going to get hit with a bunch of people trying to, or in this case, order food. And then from 3 to 5 in the morning, that's when you're done with those orders. So you got roughly 4 hours to clean, and there's still people coming, right? It's just less people than you just had for the last 4 hours of your shift. So half your shift was spent doing exactly what everybody else is doing, and now the other half of your shift is spent cleaning and in-depth cleaning, because you're not just trying to make sure that the place looks presentable, you're trying to make sure the machine don't go to hell, right? And so it's very difficult. But then morning shift will come in and they will pick their battle for example. And it changes depending on the morning shift manager. Some morning shift managers care a little more, some care a little less, and some care about something that's completely fucking relevant, right? So when I worked at this popular titular fast food chain, our morning shift manager particularly cared that we had her fucking coffee done in the morning. Not because she wanted to drink it, but because she didn't want to make coffee. So we needed to have the coffee done. We needed to have a couple of breakfast staples done. We needed to essentially basically start the first hour of morning shift, right? Because ain't nobody really coming at 6 in the morning except for people who are not getting ready for work, right? I need to clarify, right? These are not the people who are getting ready for work. These are the people who are running late to work, because most people's work start at 5, meaning they should have been here at 4. But the place that I worked at didn't serve breakfast at 4, so they would be there at 5. And they would be late, and they would be rude because they were late. Like that was our fault, but it wasn't, because you should learn how to plan your morning so that you're not 10 minutes late to your job. But she would basically want us to have all that done, and then it still took her an hour to get up there, so she was up there at 6 anyways, which led to a bunch of issues because we were getting a bunch of overtime, right? No, it's okay. It's just how working works. But it started issues because they would report us to management if we didn't do stuff that was extra. And I need to clarify that it is extra. We do not need for them to have what they have. So, for example, coffee creamer, not our job. Not our job. We are there when they serve dinner, and we leave when they're serving dinner. So, well, technically they switch over to breakfast, but we leave when breakfast starts. So, if they had shown up on time, we would have not served a singular breakfast order. They wanted us to do creamer. They wanted us to do like milks. They wanted us to do like espresso beans. All of that. None of that really has to do with our job because we didn't serve breakfast outside of breakfast, right? And I need to clarify too. It was really bad because especially when I worked this particular job, I would sell maybe a coffee a night. I didn't make nary a fucking coffee most nights. The only people who would order coffee in the late night like that is some old person on a road trip. There are no people ordering coffee that night. The only time that I ever served coffee was after 5 in the morning, which would have not been my shift, right? But she still wanted us to have it because she didn't want to have to make it. And if we didn't do it, she would complain. And then also she would complain if we didn't do our job for whatever like reason. So too busy, not enough people, corporate strike, like the building shut down, the building caught fire. It didn't matter. It didn't matter. And so a lot of the internal beef between night shift and morning shift, and don't get me wrong, because we were petty too. We were petty too. I'm not even gonna lie. I sure would complain if I went to clean a machine and found mold in it. Because what do you mean that I was off last Wednesday? The machine has to be cleaned every Wednesday. I was off last Wednesday, which means that it's morning shift's turn because only 2 people know how to clean this machine, and night shift ain't even supposed to be cleaning this machine. Yeah, I was off. I'm the only other person who knows how to clean this machine, and y'all still didn't clean this your machine, and y'all saw it dirty. So of course I'm gonna complain because now I gotta do my job twice as hard, which takes more of my time to do my job that you're gonna complain about if I don't do. And now you see where the beef is. She must have a lot of trust to ask her employees to expect a coffee. Well, okay, so because modern times, right? Modern times means that there's cameras everywhere. It means that if there isn't cameras everywhere, they can DNA test it. Like literally, there is nobody who's gonna spit in your coffee. Everybody likes to be like, "Oh, why are you mean to your barista? They're gonna spit in your coffee. Why are you mean to your waiter? They're gonna corrupt your food." Really, the only people who are gonna do that are people who don't give a and can lose their job, which a lot of people can't. A lot of people can't afford to lose their job over spitting in your coffee specifically, and they will get caught. And they will because they camp those fucking cameras like that's their life's mission. They camp those cameras like they get paid. I seen less camera watching from Paul Bart, the mall cop, and he was supposed to be watching the cameras. There was no reason for them to be meat riding cameras the way that they were, but you will get caught. Trust and believe. One time, I wasn't doing anything bad per se. I think I just wasn't doing anything. Like, I think I was just done, and I was just, like, standing there. And my manager comes up, and and she's like, "Hey, they're watching you on the cameras, and they said that you don't look busy enough." And I was like, "What do you want me to do? I did everything." And so they were like, "Okay, just make something up, because they're watching." Right. Right. And that was the day that I learned that jobs don't actually value efficiency. They value the perception of you're doing something. Because they stayed meat riding those coworkers that didn't do shit, but were like, that looked busy. And it was crazy. And I do love looking at reviews for that old job now, because I look back and they're like, this place is so nasty or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, because I was one of the only people who knew how to clean the machines. Ah, bitch. Management can be glued on them effing cams, bro. Got in trouble for jump shotting paper into the trash while no customers were around with a 5 minutes to close. Literally, they dick ride them cameras like this is a white girl in a hub video, bro. Ugh, get off the camera. Get off the camera. You got time to be on them cams, you got
this
time to be at the
channel.
stove. Come
Some
on.
areas of the channel have
We got
rock
broke
hazards.
machines.
Some random areas have shallow waters. But Sewol was traveling through a part where it was pretty calm. Conditions were relatively calm. Even CCTV footage shows kids and truck drivers socializing on deck, finishing up their breakfast. Most of the kids were still asleep in their cabins, if I'm being honest, because, you know, it's very early. As of 8:40 a.m., everything is going well. Students are busy, passengers are busy avoiding the students, crew members are busy working. Within 9 minutes, everything would change. 8:49 a.m. Two crew members that were in charge of steering the ship
It's
decided
crazy
to
how life
manually
can
steer the
change
ship
in, like, 4
15
minutes.
degrees to the left, which is a well-known fact to all crew members aboard this Sewol that they cannot steer this particular vessel more than 5 degrees in any direction, mainly because of the amount of cargo it was holding. So why did this Sewol ferry even start to sink? This Sewol was known, like I said, to be a cargo ship. 25% of their profits were
I
just
think
from
this is the
passengers.
craziest part of
So
it.
being incredibly irresponsible and greedy, they would almost every single time load way more cargo than was legally allowed. It caused massive dangerous conditions on the boat, and when they made this sharp turn, which is supposed to only be 5 degrees to the left, they went 15 degrees. And none of this cargo, none of these cars, they had almost 200 vehicles on this cargo ship. All of them slammed to the left because none of them are being tied down. Side note, when you read official reports, it'll read that the boat was listing 30 degrees to port. Now, what that means, and this is from online research, I'm not like a boat girl. I'm actually terrified of cruises, but listing, when a boat is listing, it means
She's
that
so real
it's
for that.
leaning to the left. Not going to the left, but leaning to the left. When it says listing to port, it means to the left. When it says listing to starboat, it means listing to the right.
Why do we just be making
You
up
say
words?
listing how much degree?
30 degrees.
Listing left
30 degrees.
Yes.
That's
and
a
listing
lot.
right
30 degrees.
is
And not to confuse
easy
it
to
with
say.
trimming, okay? Just a little quick, I guess, boat lesson. But trimming is when the ship tips forward or backward. And then rolling is when a ship is moving from side to side trying to find balance. So these are terms that you'll see a lot in the official reports. At one point, it was rolling to try and find balance, but ultimately, it was listing to the left, 30 degrees. None of this is great, but 30 degrees list doesn't mean capsizing. It doesn't automatically mean it. And it gets technical, but I'm going to try and describe it as best as possible. If the cargo had been tied down, it probably might have balanced the boat back out. The boat might have rolled and then eventually become stable again. Now, even if it didn't become stable again, there is something called ballast water. Okay, this is going to get very technical. All boats want to have a low center of gravity. The parts closest to the water needs to be the center of
Damn, I
gravity.
need to work
So
where
did
you're
you know most
working.
boats are filled with water? It sounds counterintuitive, but it's something called ballast water, which is just to
sense.
bring the center of gravity, right?
I've been saying
They had,
balanced
like, no ballast
this whole
water.
time. This
the
is
center of gravity was
balanced.
at the top of the boat.
I call it. I've
Why?
been calling it balanced water.
So they can load more cars.
Yes. So there's no way that this boat is
I keep
gonna
spilling
fix
liquor on my
itself,
titties.
balance itself out. No way. Let me
Okay,
show
well,
you
Let
some
me
footage.
go get the
You know,
liquor
I
off my
can't
titties.
envision it as, you know, sometimes you throw a bowl on the water, it will float. And then I'm just imagining like filling that bowl to the brim of sinking and floating.
Yes.
So it's like anything moves, it will start sinking.
Precisely. That's literally what this boat is doing. This is from Black Box when the boat leaned initially. So this is also why it's so pertinent that when you're aboard a boat or a plane, they're tying down all the cargo. That's why they're so particular about it. If you've ever brought your car on a boat, they tie it down. So all of this cargo, all of these vehicles slam to the left, and this boat is not going to balance out. This boat is 100% going to capsize, meaning it's going to sink. Now, the water is very cold in April. It was about 54 degrees Fahrenheit. It only takes 10 minutes for you to start feeling the effects of hypothermia. You're not going to die in 10 minutes, but most of the time. But you start feeling loss of dexterity. Your fingers go numb. You're starting to, your teeth are clattering. And full-blown hypothermia happens after about 2 hours. So right at this moment, the boat leans, and the engines of the boat are cut. The off-duty Captain Lee Chun-seok, he starts running. He's like, I gotta figure out what's going on. Some crew members also run to the bridge of the boat, and they're like, what's going on? Now, they're trying to assess the situation. And when a boat this size starts to list or even starts sinking, it's not like an earthquake. Not every single passenger is going to jerk up and go, we need to evacuate this boat. It feels dangerous,
this was the right
but
microphone
it
again.
almost feels like turbulence on a plane. You feel like, okay, I need to wait it out, and it's going to be fine. You never really hit
You need the
turbulence and
slang
you're like,
because
this
just yelling
plane
left
is
or right
going
isn't
down.
very helpful in the middle
So
of a
that's
boat.
kind of how everyone was feeling,
That's another
except
thing.
for the
I
crew,
love
because
boats,
they
but I
knew
fear
better.
the ocean.
8:52 a.m.
Real.
Just 2 minutes after the boat starts leaning to the left about 30 degrees, an emergency call is made by a student, Choi Tok-ha. Choi reported that the Sewol was starting to capsize. He was the first 911 call, and that the water was coming into the decks. He's like, something's going on. I'm on the decks and this is dangerous. He was one of the few that understood the severity of the situation, and he was probably confused because he could hear ringing.
Is water not supposed to be on the decks?
Intercom system, the speakers on the boat.
I keep seeing pictures of
Do not move. Just stay where you are. It's dangerous.
You guys know the North Sea, right? Yo ho, all hands. Yeah. Every time I see North Sea videos, the like water is all on the deck and stuff, and the ships aren't capsizing, so water's not supposed to be on the deck. Like genuinely, I thought it would just be fine. It's just not supposed to be like a lot of water. Like, as long as the boat's not tipping over, you know. But water can get on the deck. It's, like, fine. No, okay.
If you move, stay where you are. Every single student and passenger was told to stay put.
When you put it like that, it sounds stupid. But, like, if water is just coming onto the boat, that doesn't mean that the boat is capsizing all the time. Like, clearly there are plenty of times where there's water on the boat and it's fine. But, yeah.
And now, all hell breaks loose. Crew members are calling so many different people. There's the
YouTube
Jeju
knows what
Vessel
you
Traffic
want
Service,
to sleep
Korean
to.
Coast Guard,
It's Ventral
Jeju
Shade
Coast
Channel.
Guard, Mokpo Coast Guard Station, their company executives. There's so many different people that this communication system is just bonkers. The fact that they don't have a system in place of, like, if an emergency happens, this is who I call, is crazy to me. Nobody was getting anything done. So much time initially is wasted in these key moments. At 9:07 a.m., the crew confirmed to authorities the ferry is capsizing, and they confirmed that they needed help from the Korean Coast Guard. They stated the ship's angle made evacuation impossible. Now, here's where
Is this
it
a good
gets
time
crazy.
to mention that I
Allegedly,
don't know
none of these
what a
authorities
ferry
knew that there
is
were 500
particularly?
passengers on this. Well,
I
close
just
to
assumed
500
that they were
passengers
smaller
on this
cruise
boat.
ships.
That's what they claim. I don't believe it for a second, but that's what they claim.
Wait, who claimed that? The
All
police?
the Coast Guards, yeah. They're like, no one told us. We just thought it was the crew. We thought it was a cargo ship. Get out of here, because the Sewol was well known to be a passenger cargo ship. So they say the ferry is about to roll over, meaning it was listing to the left, but
Do you think that the government thinks that people believe their lies when they say stuff like this? They're like, oh, we didn't know that it was a passenger cargo ship. We just thought it was a cargo ship. Does that make you sound any less incompetent at your job? I don't think it does, right? Because, like, you don't even know what kind of ships are leaving your port. So you're saying that I could just smuggle 12 crates of whatever on there as long as I say it's a passenger ship, because you're not going to check? Because you don't know? Does not knowing make you any less incompetent? Well, obviously I knew it wasn't a merry-go-round. Right now we're watching along the Sewol Ferry tragedy on Rotten Mango's channel, which you should go watch and subscribe to, because Stephanie has a great way of telling things, and you don't have to listen to my uninterrupted commentary, which is only going to get more and more boisterous because I am currently on that juice. Yes, that's right. Mommy is sipping her adult juice again. Ferries go from shore to shore. Don't all boats go from shore to shore? Unfortunately, they would try to find any way to avoid responsibility. Sorry, guys. I didn't know that would happen because I didn't know how to do my job. Doesn't sound any more intelligent. They just sound stupid.
Because it was taking in so much
I'm here
water,
for
it
Vynn
was
anyways.
practically bonk flat onto the left, and now it was going to flip over and capsize.
Wow.
So it's not even sinking just to the bottom like this. It's going to be completely inverted. The bottom is going to be the top. The Coast Guard tells the crew on Sewol to inform any passengers, if there are any, to put on their life jackets. But they just say, oh, sorry, our PA system is down. It wasn't down. It's just bizarre. Okay.
What in tarnation possesses you to say our PA system is down? I actually am drinking. A ferry is a smaller boat, moves fairly slow, not much cargo, if any, and they don't need a large crew to run. Thank you for actually explaining what a ferry is to me.
Okay.
So why did they lie?
Yeah, so it was like down at one point, but then it comes back up, and then a customer service rep is like playing that, or like a customers relations crew member is playing the message of like, do not move. There was like no communication. Now the Coast Guard is like, okay, well, if it's down, then go personally tell the passengers. The crew member is like, okay, I'm gonna do that. He walks out of the command center and walks around a bit and comes back being like, I did that. He did not do that. He just lied. He just blatantly lied to authorities and said, yeah, I told all the passengers to put on their life jackets.
Lazy. Lazy
What?
is
Yeah.
a disease.
Do they not understand what the hell's going on?
No, they do not.
No,
The
it's
Coast
crazy.
Guard tries to tell Captain Lee that you need to start thinking and acting fast. They have
It's time to
deployed a
switch
vessel.
to your little
there
sister,
was a patrol
guys.
vessel nearby that was coming in about 10 minutes. There was a helicopter that would get there in about 1 minute. And Lee said, yeah, that's not enough to save everybody. Like there's more passengers than that. Because one helicopter, you could save maybe a dozen people max. No, maybe like 6, 7 people. Keep this part in mind. Because later, everyone goes and says, oh, when he said passengers, we thought maybe a couple of passengers.
Wow. I mean, right now everything falls on the captain, right?
Oh, yeah. But
It's going down. Like, what are you doing? Every second, what are you
Yes,
doing?
Exactly. And you're going to die when you find out what he was doing. So the passengers up until this point are still being told to stay where they are and do not move. And some of the
I want to
very
know
first
where
people
they're
rescued
finding these villains every
the
time this
captain.
happens.
and a few of his crew.
그러나
Sorry.
구조당국이 가장 먼저 구조한 사람은 배를 받은 승관과 선원입니다.
The captain was rescued
Sorry,
by one of the
hold on.
small Coast Guard
I'm figuring
boats,
it out. Hold
and
on, I'm
he
sorry.
wore ordinary clothes to disguise himself as a passenger.
Oh my god.
Once he was rescued,
not do
he
that
made
right.
no attempts, and he actually was rescued. I don't want to say before the chaos because right now is chaos, but he was rescued at a point where it wasn't just utter all hell breaks loose and there are people drowning and dying right now. He's like, okay, well, I think chaos is about to hit, so I'm gonna leave.
That's so fucking despicable.
Yes. Yeah, he's
he
actually
was a
one
piece
of the
of
most
shit.
hated people in all of South Korea.
As he
The
should
whole
be.
nation. He's alive.
I
He
hate him
disguised
too.
himself as a passenger, and once he was rescued, this is even more despicable. He gets on the Coast Guard vessel, and he doesn't let anyone know that he is the captain and that he has vital
I'm sorry,
information that would help them in rescuing passengers. He doesn't relay any information to them when time and information is the most important thing to save lives. He made
Noob.
no attempts to tell them how many
that's what you
passengers,
think.
where they were, what the PA system was doing.
How
He
old are you?
did none of that. He didn't tell them that they were being told to stay in their rooms where they were effectively trapped in.
All right, I just want to answer the question. Probably when the PA is down. It's not down. I'm so sorry to tell you this. The PA system isn't down. In fact, they're going to use it in a minute to tell all the children to stay inside where the children will die. I hate him because I know what he did. And he left a bunch of children to die while he saved himself and lied that there were no more people on the ship. In fact, that's not even really a spoiler. You can't see it, but off the screen, or I think on the screen actually, is the title is Coward Captain Left 350 Students to Die in a Sinking Ship. That's 15 students short of a whole year, meaning that a child could die every day for the amount that died in one time on the ship. You're all good. I'm not mad. Sometimes I talk aggressive. I'm sorry, but I'm not mad. I'm also slightly drunk, so factor that in.
Inside this sinking boat, none of that. There is about 20 minutes of footage from some of the kids' last moments. And one of the biggest, I guess, video files that were actually shared by the father of the victim. And he said that he wanted the world to know what actually happened to these kids. So it was filmed by a Park Soo-hyung and Kim Dong-hyuk. They were both 16, best friends. They were both on the level 3 of the boat, which is where most of the male students were dorming. These rooms had bunk beds, about 4 boys per room. Soo-hyun and Dong-hyuk, they were 2 of the last ones to start the day. They're hanging out in the cabin, sitting on the edge of their cabin, like bunk bed, when they suddenly feel
Ain't
the
you
boat
brand new here
lurch
too?
to the
Don't try to
left.
tell him what I'm
And
feeling.
at first, everyone's confused. But like I said, it feels like airplane turbulence. They're not freaking
You've
out
been in
yet.
here for like 30
Then
minutes.
they start overhearing the speakers starting blaring. Do not move. Stay put. It's dangerous if you move. Just stay where you are. If you're watching the video on YouTube or Spotify, I'm going to play you a clip of the video. You can actually hear the PA system in the background repeating, "Stay where you are," over and over again.
That's just demented. They are sideways. Oh my gosh. That's so...
So the boys on the
fucked up.
third floor are freaking out. Some students who were on the deck come to the cabins to let everyone know to put on their life jackets. The video footage from these students are stitched together to be about 20 minutes, but it's probably the most raw footage I've ever seen in my life. Like, it's not necessarily the most emotional in the typical sense, meaning these kids aren't crying, they're not banging on the windows to get out, but you just see how real and relatable the situation is. Like, the way that these kids, at first, they don't think the ship is going to sink, because who thinks that? You know, they're kind of joking around, but they're putting faith in the adults and the captain and the PA system, and they're kind of playing around with each other. And I find that it's a way that they're coping with it. And then eventually you hear that humor kind of dissipate, and it gets replaced by them saying, "I don't want to die." But they're still trying to keep this almost cool front in front of their friends. You can hear other kids trying to check up on their friends and contacting their family members back home on their phones. But near the end, you can hear and see most of them start to feel very, very scared. You hear students say things like, "Will the water really leak in? The shaking is getting serious. It's tilting so much this way, I can't even move. This is getting ridiculous. I want to get off. I really want to leave. Am I going to die? It's not going to go down any further, right? Like, what the hell is going on? Hurry and rescue us. What's wrong with these people? I don't understand what's happening. If they're telling us to wear life vests, does that mean the ship is sinking?
I mean, yeah, sure, I'll miss you. I like getting to know people. I like grooming my subscribers, so of course. But at the same time, if you want to leave, anyone can tell you that I won't stop you. I'm not the kind of person to do that. I'm real chill. For sure.
I say anything. That's so sad. That is so sad.
Near the end, one
Oh
of the
my
students
God.
even screams,
These are
"Let me
like
live. Who's going to take care of my
16,
mom and
17-year-old
sister?
children.
Let me live." And now, all throughout this, you hear the PA system in the back. "Dear passengers, a guidance announcement. Those of you who are inside the ship, please do not move. Try to find a pole you can hold on to." The kids also note that they start smelling something very bad. They wonder out loud if it's gas because it smells like boiled eggs, which is typically a gas leak scent.
Chill shade.
Who's talking in the
You
system?
know it.
It's like an automated message.
Oh,
Yeah.
nobody's
In
even
fact,
like
call
talking.
me
Oh, yeah, no.
Mr.
Most of the crew are
Snow
like,
Miser
"Bye."
with the
Here's
way
a button,
that I'm
they press
so
a button,
chill.
and then they dipped.
Uh-huh. And it's very heartbreaking because you just hear that
You can
playing
call
while
me
these kids are
Ben 10
repeating,
with the
"We
way
don't
that I
want to
turn
die."
into
So more
big
phone calls were
chill.
placed between passengers and police. The students are
Slander
even telling the
girl.
police, "Please, the ship is sinking. I don't want to die. We've been told to stay put. We're not supposed to move." Another student can be heard saying, "Really, once the water starts coming in, we really got to get out." And another student says, "No, like it says we shouldn't move." There are a few things to gather from these students' last moments. They're trying to stay strong. They're trying to keep each other company. And if you listen and you speak Korean and you listen to the whole clip, a lot of these kids are thinking about their families, or a lot of them are asking, "Wait, has anybody checked on the girls on the other floor? Or has anyone checked on the teachers?" Like trying to see if their friends and even their teachers are okay. Some of them were joking around
The
that
fact
this
that
was
these
the
children
Titanic
have
and
more
sang the
empathy
theme
for
song,
each
which
other
I saw a lot
than
of
the
like
adults
old
who are
people be like,
supposed
"What's
to
wrong with
protect them is
kids?"
just so
But
dark.
that's how they cope. They followed the rules. They followed the advice of the adults who they believed were doing the right.
Can confirm in 2016 that was in fact how I coped. I think no, okay. I think it was 2018. My school actually shut down for a little bit because a person with a gun had come onto the campus and they were scared we were going to have a school shooter situation. And I can confirm that in the classroom, people were trying their hardest to make jokes while also telling their parents that they love them in case that they never got to see their parents again. And I don't know how the previous generations coped, but I like to think that my generation is very funny. And we're gonna die trying to laugh. So
right thing, so they stayed put. They trusted the captain. Even teachers were going around dorm to dorm to make sure that these kids didn't go because they thought, again, it was in the best interest and the safety and welfare of the children for them to stay put. One student texted his mom, "Please, if I don't survive, Mom and Dad, I love you." Another one texted his parents, "Mom, Dad, younger sister, I love you guys so much, and please don't ever let my little sister go on a school trip ever." These are some of the kids' last words. So, key points. They're told to stay in their cabin. They're told not to evacuate or come to the deck. They also notice that some of the zippers on many...
they wanted these kids dead, bro. I don't have any other reason. There's no other way. There are no other words to describe what they are doing. They wanted them kids dead. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear that it was a shit storm waiting to happen. I don't want to hear it was inevitable. I don't want to hear wrong place, wrong time. They wanted those kids dead. And I personally hope everyone who was involved in that incident is burning in the ninth layer of hell with the hottest coals and being whipped every day till their skin is in tatters. I'm talking flogged, caned. I'm talking dragged over spikes. I don't care what inhumane treatment you have to give. So many children died. They died in fear. They died cold. And they died knowing they'd never see the people that they loved again. And they suffered. And I just hope every single person who enabled the death of this many children never know another piece of happiness in that life. I hope they live a life that is worse than death.
of the life vests were broken. Not only that, but one of the boys said, "I just discovered something really horrible. This life vest says it was made in 1994. Here, look, it's written in the back. Made in 1994. They didn't even have enough life vests to go around.
It's one of those things that is not funny, but it's so terrible. It's so terrible. It's funny. What do you mean it was made in 1984? But I wasn't alive in 1984. This life vest from 1984. My mama wasn't born yet. Can you imagine being a health inspector walking around being like, oh, yeah, 1984? Oh, yeah, I remember that like it was yesterday. Because that's the only thing that can happen. You have to be old enough to be sundowning to be delusional enough to think that that would work. And I am mad that time.
So a lot of the kids were sacrificing life vests to each other and to their friends.
Are you
They
laughing?
if the teachers and the girls
Some
all
people
had
cry
life
when they get
vests.
angry. I laugh when I'm
The
angry.
videos were captured on Kim Dong-yeop's phone.
There's a word for it, actually. There's a word. If you Google it, like laughing when you're angry, there is a word for people who laugh when they're angry. It's a word that describes the feeling of something being so annoying. It's absurd. You laugh not because it's funny, but because it's so absurd. It's not funny, but I don't know the word for it, and I don't think it's Schadenfreude. So I just know those things were falling apart. Yeah. I wasn't even down in 84. Maniac, yeah. I wasn't either. My stepdad wasn't alive in 1984. Literally.
He would not make it out alive. So while this is the situation inside the boat, mainstream media at the same time, like imagine this is happening at the same time. Please, just the irony of all of this. Mainstream media starts reporting that all passengers have been rescued. It sounds stranger than fiction. I don't even know how to explain to you what they thought that they were going to get out of this, what the politicians thought was going to happen when this all came out to be lies and false. But it's insane. If this happened in a movie, it'd be unbelievable. There were reports that all passengers were rescued. Danwon High School parents let out a sigh of relief. Oh my God, okay. That cryptic text, my child is fine. They're probably not responding to my texts or my calls because they're probably on like a Coast Guard vessel right now and they're busy, but that's fine. They start noticing something fishy though. They're trying to get in contact with their children, no responses. They contact other parents and they're like, no, we also haven't gotten any responses. And when they watch the news very carefully, the numbers aren't adding up.
It's really fucked up because you know that if the government could have, they would have sent texts to each one of the parents pretending to be the kids, being like, we're fine, we're fine, we're fine. You just know it. You just know that those are the type of people that they are. Most commercial ships, such as container vessels and cruise liners, are retired after 25 to 30 years of service due to maintenance costs and economic depreciation. Well, guess it was on time. No. I don't think the ship was old. I think the life vest was old. I don't think the ship was old.
And it's not like some sort of conspiracy, but the government would report that,
or at least
they
it wasn't
rescued all
30
the
years
passengers.
old, you know.
Then a little bit later, they'd be like, okay, well, we have rescued majority of the passengers. Then it'd be like, oh, and these are not the exact figures, but it would be something like, we rescued 200 passengers. And then later they'd be like, we rescued 150 passengers. So which one is it? Who are you rescuing? How do you unrescue people? You're a powerful nation and you can't even do basic arithmetic? Like, what's going on? So frustrated, the parents, they start traveling to Chindo Island. Now, Chindo Island is the closest island to where the crash happened. Not Jeju Island. Chindo Island is very close to the southern tip of South
is
Korea.
the phrase I
Jeju
found
Island,
when
you'd
looking
have to
up
go
laughing
further
when angry
out
as a
into the
defense
Yellow Sea.
mechanism.
The parents all decide to use the Chindo gym to be their coordination place.
I think the word that I'm looking for
I truly
is a
don't even
Korean
know how to
word.
explain what I'm going to say next. But first of all, the people organizing this gym to make sure everyone is in the right place were the parents of the children on the boat. They arrived, there's no organization, it's chaos, so they take it upon themselves to make sure everything is organized. Not the Coast Guards, not the local officials, the police, the parents take charge. The rescue teams had these giant whiteboards on the front with a list of names of passengers who have been rescued. And of course, parents are flocking.
Here,
and
I'll
praying
tell you what
and
the word
wishing
is.
that it's
Give me a
their
second.
child on the list. But these families are getting frustrated. One parent grabs a mic and says, "Here, I can clearly see my younger sister's name on the list of survivors. It says she was rescued, but my sister
Oh, but I
isn't
can't
here,
read
so where is my
Korean.
sister? Who
This is
on
gonna be
earth made
hard.
this list?"
여기 명단에 분명히 제 동생이 있어요. 여기 명단에 분명히 제 동생이 있는데 동생이 여기 없어요. 지금 명단을 누가 작성하셨냐고요?
막장.
So these are authorities being like, here's all the people we rescued, and the parents are like, we
막장?
don't believe you because where are our children then?
막장이네.
상황이라도 좀 알았으면 좋겠는데 상황을 좀 모르니까
어이.
할 수가 없네.
Another parent screamed, please, just get us a boat so we can
I
save
wish
our
I
kids.
could give you
Get
a
us boat.
picture,
We don't care
but
how much it costs. I will pay
apparently
for it.
it signifies a situation has reached an extremely low point or out of control level. For when something is like outrageous. Like outrageous. It's absurd.
경찰들만 돌고 있고 아무 그거 없대요 지금. 잠수도 없고 지금 그런 상황이에요.
지금 뭐 얘기로는 지금 뭐 시신도 많이 꺼냈다고 하는데 지금 가요.
Another one said, I feel like the parents, including myself, are here waiting for our children to die. We want an answer from the person in charge. Why are orders not going through and nothing's being done? You guys are clearly lying and kicking responsibility to others. Another parent screams, let's all go together. Let's all go together. The parents are rushed to the harbor, and to show you how they still had this unfailing hope of a parent, they all grabbed blankets on the way out. They said when their kid gets saved, they want to make sure that they have something to keep them warm. They all go to the harbor and they wait.
No. No, 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 no. 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 Remember that they didn't have to die. This was not... Hi. You sleep well? This was not an unavoidable situation. They didn't have to die. Okay. Okay.
There's nothing that they
This
can
is
do.
always such a
Side
hard
note,
listen.
police were lined up at the edge of the harbor to prevent family members from going into the water, whether to try and rescue a kid or to in a desperate attempt. A parent screamed, I want to jump in the water with them. My loved one is under the water. Anger is not enough. If I don't have my younger child, I'm going to jump in the water thinking about my child in the water. How can I, as a parent, continue to live, eat, and drink? I hate myself. Someone near a mom.
And for what? I always hate how these rich people put a value on a human life. How much money did you save? 100,000? 200,000? Is that the value of a human life? If I paid 100,000, 200,000, could I kill them and their life would be worth that? No, right? Because lives are priceless. And yet so many children can die. And so many bad things can happen. And it's whatever doesn't hurt their bottom line, I guess. That's how much a human life is worth to them. Really makes me lose faith in the world.
Mom tried to put one of the blankets on one of the moms because it was so cold, and she cried, what good is it staying warm when the kids are freezing out there? They're freezing. What good is it for us to stay warm? Not a single government official was at that harbor. Nobody responded to the family's frustrations or questions.
헬기 탔다길래 난 구조되는 줄 알았어 언니. 우리만 따뜻하면 뭐하냐고요. 애들이 추운데 우리만 따뜻하면 뭐하냐고.
Wait, this is nighttime?
Yeah,
It's been a day?
it's been a day. We're going to go back into the rescue. Just you wait.
Oh my god.
Those kids
Yeah.
have been drunk.
So again, I mean,
so long.
the families resorted to asking reporters on what's going on, but none of the reporters, most of the reporters at the harbor at this point were mainstream media reporters. The only ones there that actually cared about helping the parents was Newstapa, which is why I think a lot of parents continue to work with Newstapa. These are some of the most...
When you think about it, assuming that they're a good parent, that love their child, every day for 16, 17 years, you've had this life, and then 8 months, because you wanted this life, right? And you get to know this person, and you get to love this person, and you raise them, and you become proud of the person they become and the future that they're building, and you invest all of it into another person. And that person becomes your entire life. Because so many parents love their children more than they love their partner, more than they love themselves. So many parents would give the world for their child to not even know a day of hardship, right? And then, just like that life is stomped out. It's taken from you. You never get to see it again. This person that you spent so many years centering your life around, and you just never see them again. I can't imagine that that's anything more than excruciating. It's the kind of thing that I think would kill your soul before it killed your body. I don't think that some parents would have the strength to go on without their children. If for nothing else, it's the guilt of letting their child go on that boat, not knowing that would be the last thing they ever let their child do. No parent should have to bury their child.
Most devastating clips I've seen. I mean, just the desperation in these parents, like their grief, their worry, their anger, and so many of them it's a lot.
진짜 가보자. 기자들도 당신들도 타고 현장을 한번 가보자. 제대로 된 정보를 여러분한테 좀 알려주라는 얘기예요, 내 얘기는.
So let's talk about the rescue, because you mentioned, like, how is this nighttime? So the rescue that government officials and media said was a success was not a success at all. The Coast Guard helicopter was dispatched to the sinking ferry at 9:10 a.m. They arrive at around 9:30 a.m. 2 rescuers come down and rescue 6 passengers via helicopter. And these passengers were, like, on the deck. So they're like waving, they're visible, they're outside. Now, at 9:32, the helicopter starts communicating with the Blue House. And the Blue House is like the White House. And they keep asking, is the situation serious? The helicopter says, the ferry is tilted and currently being flooded. It hasn't sunken yet. Can you please send over a video? Now, this is being heavily criticized because time is of the essence. Such an urgent incident is taking place, and really, I don't know what to say because it casually feels like the Blue House is saying, pics or it didn't happen. And sure, maybe videos can help them get a better understanding of what's going on, but if this is the government responsible for running a literal company, they better be more competent than this. They keep calling back to the helicopter, not giving commands, not doing a full-scale command center operation, but going, did you send the videos yet? Just nonstop, over and over and over again, wasting time asking for videos. And what's even crazier is that the helicopter is like, well, we didn't want to take any videos in case it gets leaked. But the Blue House is like, it's fine, text it to my phone.
What?
Here, there's footage.
심각한 상황인가요?
지금 현재 일단 배가 좀 기울어서 침수 중이고 아직 침몰은 안 됐고요.
어디 저기 카메라 나오는 건 없죠?
네, 아직 없습니다. 예.
알겠습니다. 바로 연락 주세요.
예.
현지 영상 있습니까? 혹시 나오는 거? 현지 영상 볼 수 있는 거 있습니까?
본인 내 외부로 나가지 아마 않을 건데 이게 관계에.
그뭐 비어스 보고 때문에 그런데
예예예.
영상이라 방식을 핸드폰 한번 보여주시겠습니까?
예.
The Blue House is basically like, okay, well, we're gonna hang up. Just call us back when you get the footage. Oh,
How
this
many
isn't even.
pictures do
This
you
is
need?
like the smallest thing the Blue House messes up. So just you wait. I mean, a president was indirectly impeached because of this incident. So soon after this, the Coast Guard patrol vessel 123 arrives at the ferry. They throw over a raft and they head to the ferry to start their little rescue. Just anytime I say rescue, don't think of it as a rescue. Think of it in quotations because it's just a bunch of people acting busy. The first people to step into this rescue raft are the captain and crew members. Not all, but a few.
They're like, I'm out.
Yeah, they're like, bye. They have abandoned the ship. But then so does the Coast Guard.
I hate
The
bureaucracy
Coast Guard,
so
the
much,
vessel,
man.
distances
I think if I were in
itself
this
from
country
the
when this
ferry,
happened, every
and they
group
try
involved would
not
be on a
to
personal
enter the ferry,
blacklist.
get close to the ferry. They don't try anything.
Enough people
Meanwhile,
were
there's
mad
about
about it
3
that the people
helicopters
who
that are
were
just circulating,
involved really
that are
got
just
their
loitering the area,
shit
What's
watching.
the deal? What's the problem then?
No one's giving them any commands.
So they're all clueless on
I
what
mean,
the hell's
even now
going
they
on.
are,
And
literally.
the captain is like just staying silent.
Yeah. And then the Blue House is like, well, we can't tell you what to do unless we get a clear HD 4K video. And then all these other authorities, like the Coast Guard, the Mokpo Coast Guard, the Chindo authorities, they're like, well, we don't know what to do. Have you tried calling the Blue House?
Have you tried doing your job?
So everyone's just waiting around. And what's crazy is that there was a U.S. Navy vessel that was nearby that rushed to the scene. And they're like,
There's something so absolutely absurd about the image of a bunch of grown men just standing there with their thumbs up their ass being like, do you know what to do? No. It's like SpongeBob and Patrick, you know, where you see two bumbling nitwits just standing next to each other.
hey, we can help. And the U.S. Navy is so equipped. This vessel had 100 Marines on there. 100 Marines. South Korea was like, it's fine. We're waiting on a video.
The government shut them down?
Yeah, the government was like, it's fine. We're handling it.
Oh my God.
I'm going on a little side note, but another rant. The U.S. vessel, the Navy vessel, actually had helicopters on the vessel and they had launch pads. So basically, they didn't have to go back to land to bring survivors. They could just go back and forth to their vessel that's parked very close to the sinking ferry so they could save an insane number of survivors. 1 or 2 helicopters could just do nonstop back and forth in such short time. We're going to dive into the U.S. Navy later because there's a lot of stuff there. Now, anyways,
That was crazy.
these are not leisure helicopters either. The helicopters that are circulating the ferry are Coast Guard helicopters, and they make no additional effort. So they saved 6 people initially. That's it. They make no additional efforts to
Sorry for the
rescue
flashbang,
anyone.
guys.
They later claimed that they had no idea that there were passengers inside. They thought the rescue was over, and they were just surveilling the sinking of the ferry. To
Oh.
sum it up, the rescue teams were just rescuing anyone that comes to the deck where you can visibly see them, but every single passenger was told to
no.
stay in their cabins.
Oh my God. I cannot even imagine what that captain was going through at that moment.
But we can't even imagine it because I don't think any of us have such little empathy for human life.
Yeah, like when he got out, does he think that all the kids are going to come onto the deck eventually? Or
Does he
he's
think
like
the Coast
knowing-
Guard's gonna break
go,
in?
Yeah.
is he
I'm not
knowingly
surprised,
making
but
a
I'm still
decision like,
disappointed.
whatever, I just got to save myself. Let them die.
Okay, my speculation is probably the last one because I imagine if rescue efforts were made, he would be the last one rescued because that's kind of how it is in maritime communities, but maybe